Welcome back, happy hookers. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to make these beautiful hexagon coasters. If you're new here, my name's Chrissy and I'm a happy hooker based in the UK. I'm passionate about educating and empowering anyone and everyone to pick up a crochet hook. So grab some tea, grab some yarn and let's get hooking. Okay, so to get started on our hexagon, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a slip knot. And we're going to be predominantly using the chain stitch and the double crochet. So if you are completely new to crocheting, I'll pop some links below on how to chain and how to double crochet, which I would recommend checking out, but I'll go relatively slow just to help you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 5. And then we're going to slip stitch into that first chain to create ourselves a little ring in the centre, and we're going to be placing most of our stitches on this first row into this centre ring. So the first thing we need to do is chain 3, and this chain 3 is going to act as the first double crochet of this round. We're then going to double crochet, and this is US terms, into that centre ring. We're then going to chain 2, and then we're going to place 2 more double crochet into the centre. And we're going to continue doing this all the way around until we've got 6 blocks of these 2 double crochets. So a chain of 2, another 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 2. If you find that you're struggling for room, you can just sort of move these centre stitches around the ring a little bit. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we've got 1 more to pop in there. So if I give that a little bit of a tug there, I should nicely get my final 2 double crochets into that space. And then what we're going to do is put a final chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of our original chain 3. The easiest way to locate the right one to place your stitch in is to follow this double crochet here all the way to the top, and can you see at the top here is the top of this, so we know that the one next to it is the top of our chain 3. Now, rather than trying to go into the top 2 loops, which can be quite tricky when you're slip stitching into a chain, I tend to go into the centre, picking up the back loop, but equally also, can you see, picking up the back loop, but also picking up that little loop that sits at the back of the back. And so yarn over and pull through, and then pull straight through like so. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 3. And then we're going to place a double crochet into the next double crochet. So into the chain 2 space, you're going to create a double crochet, a chain 2, get myself a bit more yarn, and another double crochet. Oh, the dogs are barking. It's very hot here at the moment. They must all be struggling a little bit. You're then going to place a double crochet in each of the next 2 double crochets. And then when you get to the chain 2 space, you're going to place a double crochet, a chain of 2 and another double crochet. So you want to continue the row repeating 1 double crochet in each of those double crochets, which are essentially your sides of your hexagon, and then in your corners, which are your chain 2 spaces, you're creating that V shape by placing yourself a double, 2 chains and another double into the corner. So a double crochet into that side. What this is essentially going to do is it's going to give you 2 more stitches in your sides on every round. So chain of 2, another double into that corner. Let me see, oh, we've got that V shape, 2 doubles into our sides. And if anybody's interested in this yarn that I'm using, it's one of my favourite yarns. It's called Sirdar No Chunky. I wouldn't say it's particularly chunky as far as UK yarns go for chunky. I'm using a 5mm hook, and I think this works very nicely. So we've got to the side, so we're going to place our 2 doubles in our side, but it does work very well. It can be a little bit prone to splitting if you handle it quite heavy, and certainly on a hot day today I need to make sure that I'm not, dragging it too tightly through my fingers. It doesn't take too well to, if you've had to frog your work and rip it down, it can be a little bit tricky. So we've got back to the beginning. We have our side already complete because our first chain 3 was in this one, and then this was our 2 double crochet, and we can see that we've got 2 here. So similarly to the round before, what we're going to do is we're going to locate the top of this double crochet, move 1 back so we find the top of that chain 3, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top for our next round. So now we're going to chain 3. And in the side here, and if you think of the sides, if you put your fingers in each of the holes, you can see these are our side stitches. So we're going to have 4 stitches in the side now, and we've chained the second one along. So we're going to place a double crochet in each of the next 2. And then when we get to the corner, we're going to do the exact same thing that we've done before, is we're going to place a double crochet, a chain of 2 and another double crochet into that space. Now this time the side we've got 4 rather than 2, so we're going to place a double crochet all the way along in each of those 4 stitches. This is probably one of the easiest patterns to follow, because as long as you're taking a look at your stitches and you're paying attention, you don't particularly need to count per se. You know that your corners are a double, a chain of 2 and another double, and you know that you simply need to, okay, I know I've got 4, so I'm going to place 4 in each of those, 1 in each of those 4 stitches to complete my sides. So I'm at the corner now, so I place my double, my chain of 2 and my double, so we're on to 4 along the side. Onto the corner, so our double, a chain of 2 and a double onto the side. And sometimes it's worth noting that this first stitch sometimes can get covered up if you've spread this one apart, and you could think, oh, that's my first stitch. What I always make sure I do is think, okay, I've got 4, give this a little stretch, okay, this is clearly the top of my 4, and I want to make sure I'm definitely going into that first stitch there. So 4 doubles. My corner, my point rather, it's not really a corner, is it, with a hexagon, more of a point. 4 doubles into my 4 side stitches, and we're nearly back round at the beginning. So we've got our corner to go, so a double, 2 chains and another. So this time we started here, and we've got our corner here, so if we make sure we move our corner out of the way, we've only actually got 3 in the side, so this time we need to place another double here before we close our row or our round. Now you could be tempted to think, oh, there's another stitch here, and this is because when you chain, it never quite fully sits in the middle of the stitch, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye on your numbers, thinking, okay, I know I've got a side of 4, I know I have got a 3 here, and I've got 4, so once I've located the right place to slip stitch in and I've closed that, I can see actually now, look, I haven't got a gap and I've got my sides. Lovely. So I'm going to do one more round with you because that's the size of the hexagons that I'm going for. Okay, so we're going to chain 3. I'm hoping I've got enough yarn left. Yeah, I should have more than enough. And we're going to place our double crochets into our sides like so, and then we're going to place our corner with our double, our chain of 2 and our double. So this round we've got 6 on our sides. Oh no, we haven't, we've got 4. What's happened here? Oh no, we've got 6. We've got 6 because we're going to be, the heat is driving my mind crazy. We're going to be going into, obviously, the corners from the previous ones. So we know that we've got a side of 6. And it'll always go up by 2 every time. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and I'm also going to show you a really great technique for when you complete your final join on how to make it look as neat an edge as possible. When you slip stitch, it doesn't always make a particularly neat join, and it's obvious, but I'm going to show you a really cool technique on how to mimic a seamless stitch all the way along. So keep watching for that really handy technique. So corner, chain 2, double crochet, and you guessed it again, can you see, making sure you're definitely going into that first stitch. So we've got 6 on our side. If you hear some rustling, my cat has just appeared in the room and has taken a liking to my waste paper basket. Do any of let me know down below if you have cats or kittens, and how much they love to normally try and eat your crochet projects. Okay, so 6 on the side. Yes, they are lovely little companions, but they are sometimes not very conducive to a quiet crochet session, because they think you've basically got a giant toy for them, don't you? And you end up crocheting through quite a soggy piece of yarn if your cat's decided she's going to chew on it for a little bit. I've actually split my stitch there, so just make sure I don't, because I want to have as neater stitches as possible. So onto our corner. Oh, it's always really exciting, the last round. I love finishing these coasters. Honestly, the quickest project ever. I mean, if you're looking for a last minute gift for somebody, sorry, I just knocked the camera then. If you're looking for a last minute gift for somebody, these are really simple and effective. And if you make sort of a set of 4 or 6 and bundle them up with a little bit of ribbon on a gift tag, they just look so lovely. I tend to go for neutral colours that will go with sort of any colour palette, greys and creams. Maybe not whites, because if they are going to be for coffee cups, then that's not necessarily the happiest marriage, is yarn and coffee. But these are actually for, as you will have seen in the intro, for a set of candle holders that I've wanted for a while. So onto the side. So we're doing 6 doubles in our side. Definitely going to have to order some more of this mustard colour. It is so lovely and bright. I get so many compliments from pieces I've made. I've made some scrunchies out of it, and honestly, my friends are constantly messaging me, asking me whether or not I can make their friend a mustard scrunchie, because they've seen theirs. So there's been quite a lot of happy mail going out recently, if you've seen my over on my Instagram. So this time, because we started 1, 2, 3 in, what we need to do is remember, check our corner. We can see we've got 4 stitches, so that we know that we need to make up 2. And you're going to find a pattern. You're going to be increasing this every time. On the next row you'll be having this one, this one, this one, and you'll be starting here, so you'll have 3 to make up if you were to go larger. So we're going to double crochet in those last 2 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the top of this stitch as normal, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we're going to finish that off so it's got a really nice seamless edge. Now, a lot of people would normally chain 1 and pull the yarn through. What I want you to do is, I don't want you to chain 1. We're simply going to cut this yarn off here, and we're going to grab ourselves a darning needle. So I'm going to snip that off here. I'm going to grab my darning needle, although a lot of people call these bodkins, and I think that's just the cutest name ever for it. So you're going to pull through like so, and you're going to thread your needle. This one's got a very forgiving opening. Okay, so if we pull this way, what we're going to do is we're actually going to sort of go over this next stitch with a sort of overlay mimicking. So we're going to take our needle and we're going to skip this next stitch, and in the following one we're actually going to place our needle through both of them. So we're essentially following the way this one goes in here and comes out the front. So we're going to go in the back through to the front, and then what you want to do is you want to, let me just make sure I've got that, there we go. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to close this so that it feels naturally, can you see this is the stitch I just made, so it feels naturally the length and size of the stitch that it's essentially covering. and then now we need to come back and we need to mimic this one. But as you can see, the points of the stitches always both go into the center of the following one. So if we're going back along here, what we want to be doing is we want to be joining up to the back and going into here. So what we're going to do, can you see if that pulls across like that? We're then going to want to go into this stitch here, which is the one that we came out of. We've just come out, we've created this here, we've gone from the back to the front through both loops here. We want to now go from the center to the front of this one here, and then you're going to gently close that. And can you see now, I mean, it's a little bit longer marginally, but I mean, if you look at my stitches, there's me trying to find some that are slightly different lengths. Oh, can you see we've got a couple of small ones here? These are our chains, obviously. So pull that until you feel comfortable, and then what I would do is I would probably go down to about here and I would pop it through so it very nicely pulls it there, and it's kind of hidden. Now I think this is going to be my front, and I'm going to keep this as my back, or my bottom rather, and then I would ideally weave my yarn in and out of the back or the bottom, and I just sort of tuck it in, making sure that I'm not really forcing it through and splitting too many stitches. And what you want to be aiming for is getting somewhere near this center piece here. So I'm just going to go back this way, and don't feel you have to go in a straight line. Sometimes a little bit of zigzagging and a little bit of variation actually helps in terms of keeping it nice and secure. So I'm probably going to pop through this stitch here. There we go. And then I'm going to pop through the center and come out about here. There we go. Okay, so what we can do now is we can tie our two pieces together. Now you might have your own preferred method of tying. Some people prefer to tie and then weave their ends in. I find that if I give it a really pull tight on that second knot, I actually go for a third one, because this is the bottom of a coaster. It's not always going to be particularly on show, and because of that I don't cut all the way to the very knot. I do give myself, if you can see, probably 2 or 3 mil, which just means that when they go in the wash, some people prefer to pop a little bob of super glue, but when they go in the wash they're a little less likely to unravel. And if you are using these as coasters, you know, you may find that spills and drips, you're going to need to pop them in the wash. So there you have your lovely hexagon coaster. So I hope you found this tutorial really useful. If you have, please do give this video a thumbs up, because it does really help the channel, helps promote my videos to a wider audience, and helps me be able to create more content for you. So I post on Fridays, Tuesdays and Sundays, so if you would like to see more videos, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. In the meantime, happy hooking, and I'll see you later. Bye.